Dr. S. Jaishankar recently visited Argentina, and his visit has improved the relations to a great extent. Any impact on India-UK Free Trade Pact and India-UK ties, considering India's position on this issue? Right. So it's interesting that the Indian External Affairs Minister's visit to Argentina is being linked to India-UK relations. Now, why is it so? Why is Samarth speaking about that? So let's explain why it is so. Right? There's always more than meets the eye when it comes to geopolitics, especially Argentina. So let's go to the map and understand why this is something that has to do with Argentina and the UK. So Argentina is this nation here, right? The big nation at at the southern extremity of the South American continent. So this all has to do with the Falkland Islands, which the Argentines called Las Islas Malvinas, the Malvinas Islands. The British call them the Falkland Islands. Now, these islands are obviously off the coast of Argentina, so one would expect that they would belong to Argentina. But no, they belong to this nation up here, the United Kingdom. And the Argentines have always claimed this archipelago. So in the 1980s, early 1980s, Argentina tried to acquire this piece of maritime real estate by force. Margaret Thatcher, the then Prime Minister of the UK, sent an expeditionary force, a naval force, to fight the Argentines. There was a brief Falklands War, and the British won. Right? And obviously, the British were supported by various other larger geopolitical powers and so on, as you know. So the British control this archipelago. And this is a disputed territory. The Argentine government and the Argentine nation has always repeatedly said that it belongs to them. Now, this is something that will be resolved in due course of time. So this is a dispute, a territorial dispute between the UK, Argentina. India now has excellent relations with the Argentines. It's a work in progress, obviously. But Dr. Jaishankar visited Argentina very recently, and things are looking good when it comes to India-Argentina relations, right? And the interesting matter is this. Let me put something else on the screen. So there was a joint statement between India and Argentina. Let me show you the joint statement. Let's put that on the screen. India reiterated its support to the resumption of negotiations to find a solution to the sovereignty issue relating to the question of the Malvinas Islands, in accordance with the resolutions of the United Nations General Assembly and the Special Committee on Decolonization. So this should be a non-controversial statement, etc. The only thing that raises a little bit of eyebrows is the nomenclature. So India has chosen to call these islands the Malvinas Islands, not the Falklands Islands. So it is an implicit recognition of the validity of Argentina's claim on the islands by using the name that the Argentines use for the islands instead of using the name the British use for the islands. It's like there is a different dispute between China and Japan about the Senkaku Islands, which the Chinese call the Diaoyu Islands. So if India were to refer to the islands as the Senkaku Islands, then it means that India is implicitly supporting the Japanese claim. But if India were to call the islands the Diaoyu Islands, it would mean that India is implicitly supporting the Chinese claim of the islands. That's just a hypothetical scenario I'm offering you to understand how these things work. So India, in this joint statement, referred to the islands as the Malvinas Islands, which is implicitly supporting the Argentine claims. You could construe it in that manner, that India is indirectly and implicitly giving a little bit of support to Argentina's claims on a claim on the island archipelago, right? And why not? The British have always had a history of supporting all kinds of anti-India activities. There's a lot of anti-India activities that go on British territory, on British soil. Lots of Pakistani supporters are on British territory. Other kinds of supporters also, separatists who want to see India fragmented. All of that is being supported and fomented on British territory. The British have always supported Pakistan in their terroristic activities and other activities against India. They created Pakistan. They broke India into pieces. So why should India not pay them back a little bit, right? Right now, India is still a smallish nation when it comes to overall geopolitical power. Yeah. But yes, India is a growing nation, and this is going to germinate into a bigger tree in the future, and they deserve it. Right? So yeah, there is an implicit support to the Argentinian claim on the Malvinas Islands and not the British claim on that island archipelago. Now, will this impact India, UK, whatever ties, etc.? Who cares? The UK is more or less a non-entity now. The only relevance the UK, it's still one of the major economies. Yeah, India has recently surpassed the UK overall GDP recently. So the UK is still a major financial hub. The only relevance the UK has globally, let me assure you, the only relevance the United Kingdom has globally is as the global center of money laundering. London is the epicenter of global money laundering. All these various shell companies that you can create in the UK, if you have sufficient money, you can do anything you want. Yeah. And all the fugitives of the world like to have a house in London or somewhere in the UK. So the only real relevance that the erstwhile British Empire has is as a puppet of the US and the global money laundering hub. All the various dodgy arms dealers of the Middle East, all the various Saudi sheikhs and princes, all the various dictators and despots of the world, in various puppet dictators in Africa, in other places, they all have investments in the UK. They all have bungalows or flats, penthouse flats in London. So that's the only relevance the UK has. Now, whether it affects the India UK trade pact and all that doesn't really matter. India is going to anyway surpass all these irrelevant nations. And it is in their interests to have good relations with India because it will help them financially. India is a growing power. India is a growing economy. No one's going to stop India from achieving what it wants to achieve. In the next 20 years, India will most likely surpass the $10 trillion mark unless there is something that is like a global catastrophe, which I don't see hopefully happening. So it is in the UK's interest to get in line and have good relations with India. If they don't want it, they can go to hell and take a hike. That's all that matters. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I can say about this matter.